The Galactic Senate Chamber, once a monument to unity, now trembled under the weight of a single voice. "Humans of Terra," snarled the towering projection of Overlord Krastal, his reptilian eyes glinting with disdain, "your time has ended. The HFY Concordat reclaims the stars you have hoarded. Surrender, or perish." Silence strangled the room. Senators shifted uncomfortably in their seats, whispering prayers or burying their faces in trembling hands. Across 1,000 worlds, the broadcast echoed, an ultimatum aimed at the heart of humanity. Admiral Celine Ward watched from the far end of the chamber, arms folded, a slight smirk tugging at the edge of her lips. Her white and gold uniform gleamed under the council lights, an island of calm amid chaos. When the broadcast ended, panic erupted like a tidal wave. "He's serious," cried the Tleth envoy, his silver gills flaring. "We must beg for terms," squealed a Fraxi ambassador, wringing her spindly hands. Voices layered over each other, fear, desperation, despair. Celine let them speak. Let them wail. Let them remember. Humanity had not come to power through negotiation alone. She tapped the small earpiece embedded beneath her collar. "Protocol Phoenix," she whispered. The order, transmitted in encrypted pulses, shot across hidden channels. In deep space, in cold asteroid bunkers, in derelict moons orbiting dead suns, humanity's fleets stirred. Engines, silent for centuries, roared to life. Hidden shipyards cracked open. Automated factories rolled out gunmetal giants, their hulls etched with ancient Terran emblems. Buried defense grids flickered awake, targeting systems humming with predatory glee. Celine stepped forward. Her boots echoed across the marble floor. "Esteemed representatives," she said, voice cutting clean through the cacophony, "the Dominion thanks you for your concern. Return to your homes. This is not your war." All eyes turned toward her, some pleading, some accusing. "You don't understand," cried the rock diplomat. "The Concordat will wipe you out." Celine smiled, not with arrogance, but certainty. "We know," she said quietly. "That's why we've been ready." She turned on her heel and left them to their fear. Back at Starfleet Command, orbiting the fortress world of New Terra, Celine stood before the heart of humanity's hidden strength. Massive screens displayed the activation reports: Iron Dawn Fleet, Shadow Spear Division, Leviathan Battle Group, all green. Thousands of ships, millions of soldiers, AI battalions programmed for strategic flexibility. Tools forged not for conquest, but for survival. Colonel Riker, grizzled and sharp-eyed, approached. "Ma'am, final readiness checks complete. Iron Dawn stands by." "Orders?" Celine glanced at the central display, a slowly rotating hologram of the HFY Concordat's territory. Strategic choke points pulsed in red. "Initiate Phase 1, she said. "Cut their supply lines. Cripple their comms. No mercy." Riker's grin was pure wolf. "With pleasure." In the darkness of space, humanity's first response unfolded without a single declaration. The Iron Dawn fleet slipped into Concordat space like a phantom. Long-range stealth destroyers disabled enemy outposts before alarms could sound. Communication hubs shattered into silent debris fields. Fuel depots exploded into brilliant novas against the endless night. Not a single human word transmitted. Not a single warning given. The Concordat expected negotiation, perhaps fearful posturing. They expected diplomacy. Instead, they found fire. On the Concordat flagship Vengeance of Suns, Overlord Krastal paced the command bridge, claws scraping the polished floor. "Reports," he barked. His adjutant, a smaller reptilian covered in bronze scales, swallowed visibly. "Multiple outposts, gone, my overlord. Communications blacked out. Trade convoys, missing." Krastal slammed his fist into the command rail. "Impossible. They are soft. They have grown fat in peace." He could not see it yet, but the cracks were already forming. Fear whispered through his officers. The humans were not scrambling diplomats or pitiful defense squadrons. They were hunting. Meanwhile, in the vast briefing hall of the Terran flagship Horizon's Edge, Selene addressed her assembled captains. A dozen faces, men, women, augmented AI hybrids, stared at her with fierce, unblinking loyalty. "We have waited long enough," she said, voice steady. "The galaxy thought peace broke us. It tempered us. They will learn that humanity does not forget the art of survival." Captain Hayes, a scarred veteran of border skirmishes, chuckled. "Permission to make them scream first, Admiral?" Selene allowed herself a rare, sharp grin. "Granted. Just remember, no survivors on military targets. We're not here for conquest. We're here for remembrance." Hayes saluted. "Aye, ma'am. We'll etch it into the stars." Across the stars, humanity's quiet storm grew louder. Drone fleets sowed electronic chaos across Concordat worlds. Power grids failed. Capital cities blinked into darkness. Military fleets, scrambling to organize, found themselves crippled by precision strikes that anticipated every move. It was not war in the traditional sense. It was surgical annihilation. By the time the galaxy realized humanity had never disarmed, only hidden its swords, it was too late. Selene stood in her command chamber, watching the reports roll in. Casualty counts on the Terran side, negligible. Concordat losses, catastrophic. Riker stepped beside her, holding a datapad. "First phase complete. They're scattering, Admiral." "Orders?" Selene thought for a moment, then spoke. "Advance to phase 2. Target their pride. Target their hope. And remind them why humans taught themselves to conquer the void." Outside the viewport, the Terran armadas moved, a silent tide of metal and fire. The 1,000-year peace was over. But humanity had never forgotten how to win a war. The Vrokharn Concordat struck first. Or so they believed. Their invasion fleets descended on minor Terran frontier worlds, agricultural colonies, mining outposts, research stations, targets deemed soft and unprepared. Krastal envisioned a quick series of victories, enough to cripple Terran morale before humanity could mount a defense. Instead, the first Concordat task force vanished without a trace. No distress signals. No wreckage. Just silence. Overlord Krastal loomed over the tactical display aboard Vengeance of Suns, his breath hissing through sharp fangs. "Where are the reports?" he demanded. His senior tactician, scales dulled from stress, struggled to answer. We are attempting to re-establish contact, Overlord." The human outposts appear deserted. Krastal's tail lashed in agitation. "Deserted? How can fortified colonies be deserted?" No one dared respond. On the bridge's forward screen, visual feeds flickered into view, footage from the last moments of a Concordat scout unit. Empty towns, abandoned machinery, unguarded food stores, and then, sudden flashes of movement. Shadows, darting between buildings. Ghosts with guns. One final image remained, a single message carved into a steel wall, seared deep by plasma. "You knocked." We answered. Across the contested systems, humanity played a different game. Instead of fighting like a cornered empire, they fought like predators. Concordat landing parties faced traps designed for maximum terror. Structures rigged with thermal explosives, roads seeded with kinetic mines invisible to alien sensors, forests laced with silent drone snipers. Invisible, patient, merciless. They didn't just kill Concordat soldiers. They humiliated them. On Epsilon 9, Commander Braktor of the Concordat 3rd Legion led an armored assault on a Terran power plant. His troops advanced cautiously, no resistance detected. Yet when they breached the facility, they found the reactors still active, and hundreds of holographic projectors waiting for them. A giant human face flickered to life overhead, a woman in a Navy uniform, smiling coldly. It was Admiral Selene Ward. "Congratulations," her voice echoed through the halls, "you have captured a decommissioned facility. Meanwhile, your transports are no longer with you." Outside, orbital platforms hidden in the moon's shadow rained kinetic rods onto the Concordat troop carriers, smashing them to molten wreckage. Commander Bractor's last broadcast was a panicked shriek. In the command center aboard Horizon's Edge, Celine reviewed the incoming reports with silent satisfaction. Colonel Riker approached, a fresh data chip in hand. "Latest casualty figures, ma'am," he said, offering it with a grim smile. 92 Concordat vessels disabled. Ground forces routed across 6 colonies. Minimal Terran losses. Celine raised an eyebrow. "Minimal?" Riker chuckled. "Lost 1 remote mining outpost. No personnel casualties. Probably a cow." A rare laugh escaped Celine's lips, brief, sharp. "Poor cow," she murmured. Riker's smile faded. "They're not adapting, Admiral. They still think they're fighting peacekeepers." Celine nodded slowly. "Good. Let them." She turned back to the star map, where Concordat fleets twisted in confusion. Phase 2 was ahead of schedule. On the other side of the battlefield, Krastow found his war slipping through his claws. He slammed his fist into a console, sending sparks into the air. "This is not possible," he roared. They were supposed to plead for mercy. The bridge officers exchanged wary glances. One finally dared speak. "Perhaps, we underestimated the Terrans, Overlord." Krastow spun, his glare murderous. "Do not speak their name with reverence." But the seed of doubt had been planted. Whispers spread through the Concordat fleets, rumors of invisible ships, weapons that defied physics, humans who fought with the cunning of 1,000 wars etched into their blood. The tipping point came at the Battle of Lyra's Halo. Krastow deployed 5 heavy battle groups to seize the mineral-rich asteroid ring, expecting weak resistance. Instead, the Iron Dawn fleet waited for them, cloaked behind magnetic shadows. The Concordat ships advanced cautiously through the debris field. Then the stars themselves seemed to ignite. Hundreds of Terran stealth cruisers erupted from hiding, firing synchronized volleys of railgun slugs and directed plasma. Concordat vessels, still adjusting to the local gravity distortions, crumpled under the first assault. Tactics drilled through centuries of peace proved useless. Concordat ships scattered, isolated, picked off like wounded prey. Celine's voice, broadcast on open frequencies, sealed the slaughter. "Your mistake," she said coolly, "was believing that peace made us weak. It only gave us time to perfect the art of your destruction." Within 20 minutes, Lyra's Halo belonged to humanity again. In the aftermath, Krastow convened an emergency council aboard Vengeance of Suns. His commanders arrived late, their ranks diminished and wounded. "The humans anticipate every move," shouted one general. "Our communications are compromised," cried another. "They strike before we even deploy defenses." Krastow silenced them with a bellow. "Enough!" He gripped the sides of the central war table, breathing heavily. "We will escalate," he growled. "No more surgical strikes. Full planetary bombardment. Force them to their knees." Silence fell. Even his most hardened commanders hesitated. One, a scarred veteran named Cresvier, spoke carefully. "Overlord, with respect, we are bleeding." "They are not." Krastow's eyes burned with rage. "Then we bleed more. Victory demands sacrifice." The council broke without resolution. Doubt seeped into the command ranks like poison. Meanwhile, in the hidden bunkers of New Terra, humanity prepared its next move. Celine stood before the Leviathan battle group, the colossal dreadnoughts humanity had hidden for centuries. Their hulls gleamed under hangar lights, massive weapons bristling like a storm barely contained. Riker whistled low. "Brings a tear to the eye, doesn't it?" Celine allowed herself a moment to savor the sight. "They wanted a war," she said. "Now we show them what war means." Above them, the massive hangar doors began to open, revealing the stars beyond, and the waiting darkness. The sleeping giants of humanity awakened at last. Above the fractured moons of Seraphis Prime, the final battle began. Humanity's Leviathan battlegroup emerged from the dark void without warning, eclipsing stars, a silent armada of death forged during the long centuries of peace. Dreadnoughts, titanic vessels bristling with artillery so vast they distorted local gravity, glided forward like gods returning to claim their domain. In the command bridge of Horizon's Edge, Admiral Celine Ward stood with hands clasped behind her back, her gaze locked on the massive projection of the battlefield. "Status?" she asked, voice razor-sharp. "All fleets in position," Colonel Riker reported. "Leviathans ready. Iron Dawn on flanking vectors. Shadow Spear detachments in deep strike phase." Celine nodded once. "Execute." Krastow watched in horror as the Terran forces materialized. "This is not a fleet," he bellowed, slamming his clawed fist into the holodeble. "This is an extinction event." Across open channels, human voices filled the air, not threats, not ultimatums, but laughter. Calm, unbothered, confident laughter. To Krastow, it was madness. To humanity, it was memory. They had faced extinction before, and learned how to erase those who threatened them. Terran formations moved with surgical precision. Iron Dawn strike cruisers flanked the Concordat's left wing, baiting reactionary fire. Shadow Spear corvettes struck from subspace fractures, severing supply lines and command chains before Concordat admirals could adapt. In the center, the Leviathans unleashed their fury. The flagship Gauntlet of Dawn fired its spinal lance, a concentrated beam of compressed plasma spanning kilometers. It carved through two Concordat battleships, their hulls blooming into superheated shrapnel. Another Leviathan, Sword of Terra, released autonomous war drones, micro-machines that drilled into enemy ships, disabling engines and rupturing life support systems with terrifying efficiency. The battlefield became a slaughterhouse. In the Bridge of Vengeance of Suns, Krastow's command structure unraveled. Primary engines failing. Shields overloaded. Enemy boarding parties inbound. Krastow roared over the chaos. Regroup. Retaliate. But there was no regrouping. Human boarding teams, armored in void-hardened suits, moving with lethal discipline, breached Concordat flagships. They fought not for conquest, but eradication. Celine's voice, transmitted again over every channel, sealed the fate of the invaders. "You wanted war. Now you drown in it." On Horizon's Edge, Celine observed the carnage unfolding with unwavering focus. Riker leaned closer, murmuring, "They're folding, Admiral. Their lines are shattering." Celine nodded. "Prepare final maneuver." She tapped a command console, and across the human fleet, a new symbol flashed, the mark of total engagement. No prisoners. No retreat. A cold, precise eradication. Krastow, desperate, triggered the VRO Concordat's final contingency, orbital bombardment cannons aimed at Seraphis Prime itself. "Burn their worlds if we cannot hold the stars," he roared. His officers hesitated. For the first time, they questioned him, not because of fear, but because humanity had shown them what true terror was. Too late, Krastow realized he had already lost the loyalty of his commanders. One turned, firing a pulse rifle directly into Krastow's torso. The Overlord staggered, claws scrabbling at the wound. "Mercy!" he rasped. The officer stepped closer, voice cold. "The humans showed us mercy once. We spat on it." With a final shot, Krastow's reign ended. In orbit, the collapse became total. Without command, Concordat vessels drifted, surrendered, or detonated in desperate suicide runs, all futile against the iron wall of human vengeance. Within 2 hours, the entire Concordat armada ceased to exist. Later, aboard Horizon's Edge, Celine stood alone in the observation deck, watching wreckage drift through the void like ashes on the wind. Riker approached quietly, holding 2 glasses. He offered one. "To victory?" he asked. Celine took the glass but didn't drink. "To memory," she said. "And to the price we always pay for peace." Riker nodded solemnly. "They thought the 1,000-year peace made us soft. Celine's lips curled into a tired smile. It made us patient. Below, the Terran fleet moved methodically through the debris, salvaging intelligence, disabling surviving weapons, ensuring no future threat would rise from the Concordat's ashes. No brutality. No senseless cruelty. Only ruthless, final precision. Back on New Terra, news of the victory spread across human worlds like wildfire. Children sang songs of the Leviathan's awakening. Veterans, long retired, saluted the stars. Colonies lit beacons visible even from orbit, a tradition older than the Federation itself, honoring survival through unity. The message sent to the remaining Concordat-controlled territories was simple. We did not seek this war. You brought it to our door. Now, we close that door forever. No further battles were needed. The Concordat, what little remained, surrendered unconditionally. As the fleets returned home, humanity remembered a lesson carved into their bones by millennia of struggle: peace was never given. It was earned. Protected. Enforced by those willing to do what others would not. The galaxy stared in silence, humbled. The laughing beasts had risen, not to conquer, but to remind. And none would forget again.